They fumbled the 7th anniversary with Saiyan Saga. If you agree with this statement, maybe by the end of this video, you might disagree with it. And also the other way, by the end of this video, you might feel like the statement is truer than ever. But in this celebration, we've got 4 units so far, and the part 2 unit, being Saiyan Saga, has created a large discourse on whether this anniversary is actually good, or for some, just got worse. So my question for you guys is, how do you feel about the part 2 of the 7th anniversary? Let's get into this. So first, let's discuss the decision of having Saiyan Saga as part 2. Obviously, like I mentioned, a lot of people are not happy about it. A lot of people are happy about it. But I think there's one thing we can all agree on, and only naturally, Saiyan Saga is not one of the most popular sagas, definitely not one of the most popular tags in game, and I don't know why people are trying to act like it is. However, there is a layer of iconicness with the tension being between Goku and Vegeta with where they fought, the landscape. It's where they hit their most iconic poses, to the point where Goku and Vegeta end Dragon Ball Super like that, referring to the anime. So for you guys that were born only recently, yes, I'm talking to you, born in 2015. You don't understand the reasoning behind everything here. It only makes sense that you wouldn't understand. But understanding the origin point for Dragon Ball and what this means as a franchise to them would make it make more sense for the theme. Also, we won't know what the anniversary is themed like until the end, but so far it's looking like Goku's and Vegeta's. With part 1, they took their highest point in the anime. So Goku in his MUI form, that's the strongest he's ever been, and Vegeta in his SSBE form, that's the strongest he's ever been. But here, it's where they really have their big first face-off. Goku using his Kaioken form and Vegeta having his Ape form, the face-off was huge, and this created a lifelong rivalry, creating all the Dragon Ball fans we have today. So if you are a fan of Vegeta Blue, if you are a fan of Gogeta Blue, if you are a Gohan fan, if you are a fan of anybody else but Saiyan Saga units, you would not have got to that point without giving Saiyan Saga its respect, which validates the decision for Saiyan Saga. But there's a lot of other factors that go into making the decision which could be addressed, which I will right now. For example, we all know it's not as popular, but we can give it its respect. So should we still get it in the part 2 of their supposed biggest year? The argument can be made the other way. For example, it won't make a lot of money. I've seen a lot of people say that it doesn't matter how much money they make, and we as players shouldn't care how much money they make, we should just enjoy this. But with only a moment of critical thinking, you could see that them making more money would make the game better. Let me give you a timeline. In 2023, the Dragon Ball Legends devs were able to hit top grossing twice in the same year. Once with Ultra Vegeta Blue in the 5th anniversary, and once with Ultra UI in the 2023 festival. So you can imagine in that year, they made a lot of money. Ultra Vegeta Blue being the 2nd highest selling unit in Dragon Ball Legends history. Then if we look into the 6th year, 2024, the next year, the budget clearly goes up, and we get 2 fusing Fusion Warriors. Do you think that can just happen if the game isn't making more sales than ever? Of course they do still have the money. This is a game that averages 100 million a year regardless, and it's Bandai, plus Dragon Ball at that. But only naturally, it's a much more comfortable decision to make when you're racking in extra dosh. We'd all love to make extra money out of thin air, but when the developers do it, it's suddenly a crime. So for the balance of the argument, it can be justified to say that Saiyan Saga shouldn't be part 2 for the future of the game. But that all rides on the big assumption that it's not gonna sell at all, which is obviously not the case, especially because of how they themed the anniversary with the updates stringing along, which is what we're gonna talk about next. Let me open your eyes up to a scenario. Could you imagine that the Dragon Ball Legends devs introduced us to ground battles, but instead of it being Saiyan Saga, they did it in part 1, and the theme was around Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta and MUI Goku, doing the exact same poses, but just like in the story mode that we got for the 7th anniversary. You know, the event where you can get chrono crystals? Yeah. Imagine it was all animated the same way, but it's MUI Goku and SSBE Vegeta. Do you know how much noise this would make in the Dragon Ball sphere? So the question to ask is, why didn't they do that? Well, only naturally, it's representation. They wanted Saiyan Saga to get representation. Being an iconic arc for Dragon Ball, it required its representation in Dragon Ball's biggest year. If we assume that the theme is Goku and Vegeta and their rivalry, we just got them in their strongest forms in part 1, but for part 2, Saiyan Saga, a less popular arc, won't survive on its own. So if we was to make a logical assumption, the best way to bring it up is to make the whole game feel fresh so that the Saiyan Saga characters can also get their props. So even if you're not a fan of them, the whole game surrounding them feels amazing, so there will only be good vibes surrounding the characters as well. Nonetheless, there is still negativity surrounding Saiyan Saga, but it's a lot more watered down based on the enjoyment, anticipation, and hype revolving around Dragon Ball Legends. MUI Goku is the pinnacle of Dragon Ball. If you think there is a moment in Dragon Ball that is more hype than Goku going Ultra Instinct, I'm afraid to tell you that you're wrong. Dragon Ball Super airing and breaking the internet is something that won't be replicated. We do understand that Goku going Super Saiyan is really the iconic moment that led to Dragon Ball being what it is, but Dragon Ball is just so goated that Ultra Instinct Goku managed to reach the same type of peaks during the Tournament of Power. Especially with the times changing, Ultra Instinct Goku aired in a time where social media, the internet, and accessibility of watching Dragon Ball is just easier, so a lot of people, especially the younger generation, are naturally more drawn to it. With all of these factors, when a unit like Ultra Instinct Goku drops in Dragon Ball Legends, everybody's head is turned, and unfortunately that same reciprocation isn't given to Super Saiyan Goku in game. And we should also just take into account that things that happened in the anime don't exactly translate the best in game, but that's another conversation in itself. But referring to Ultra Instinct, he's able to carry the hype himself, so he didn't need the game to be in this perfect fresh condition to be hype. Although part 1 didn't hit top grossing, Ultra UI has done it before, so it's more likely that MUI Goku alongside SSBE Vegeta as the headliners for part 1 could possibly do it, but even if they don't, they're probably hitting good numbers regardless. So to put in the game update with the dynamic battles would be overkill, but it would make more sense to make Saiyan Saga a tag they desperately want to represent, clearly because it's now made the anniversary where some people felt it wasn't anniversary worthy, but now it's very much so anniversary worthy. The game surrounding it, the dynamic battles, the update makes it feel like Saiyan Saga is better than it is, indirectly making Saiyan Saga get the love that it deserves. An outside factor to Saiyan Saga, but something they've been doing consistently, is being very generous. They've been giving out a lot of Chrono Crystals, maybe the most they've ever given out in a celebration. It feels like every time I log in, I'm being gifted some sort of Chrono Crystals. Every Wednesday we're getting 500. Every reveal we're getting the codes for the gift from the website. Then we've got some random CC dropping, maybe because of a maintenance. The missions have a lot of CC. There's events going on. There's PvP. There's the exchange shop. There's a lot of Chrono Crystals, but of course there'll always be people that find a way to complain, but I think it deserves some mention because they have been giving out a lot. It seems like ever since I've seen Tiny on the screen at the start of this year, Chrono Crystals have been flying into my account, and of course in the same way they can fly out just as fast with the way the rates are when summoning. It's very easy to get unlucky, but nonetheless I think we should give them some props for giving us a lot of Chrono Crystals in comparison to previous years. Even without the pleasure of getting top grossing, we are getting a bunch of Chrono Crystals, and I think that should be mentioned. Something we also know is a big factor for how Dragon Ball Legends works is the quality of the units themselves. So if their kits are good, if the sparkings are good, the units will get used. I think initially people were not interested in a Super Saiyan 2 Kaba and a Kalen Caulifla in part 1, but eventually everybody started using them anyways because they were very optimal and the animations are super good. I really love Super Saiyan 2 Kaba's transformation personally, but looking at the sparkings that we've got, Nappa, that new mechanic where he's able to spawn a Cyberman, that's pretty tough. It's going to be very useful on the battlefield and it allows you to have free damage. And then if we look at Tien, having that succession layer gives the team survivability. Almost out of nowhere, Saiyan Saga has become a usable team. They didn't really have a good foundation, but Yajirobe, here comes the swordsman to save the day. All of a sudden, his Z ability is the GOAT. So 2 successful sparkings, 2 alleged successful Legends Limiteds. If you are a Saiyan Saga fan, you are able to eat. But even if you're not a Saiyan Saga fan, you are able to eat because these units are able to do their job very well, and I think that's something that's not spoken about enough. There's so many units in Dragon Ball Legends history where initially the audience wasn't attracted to them. One I would mention, easily the biggest one, Ultimate Gohan in the 6th anniversary. That guy was absolutely cracked. We saw his reveal, it was so disappointing, lackluster. Turns out he's one of the greatest things to ever touch Dragon Ball Legends, and everybody used them for months non-stop. Only naturally, if the unit's good, people are gonna want the unit so that they can survive in PvP. There's no shame in being that type of person as long as you're honest about it, but that's how a lot of players are. We're all Dragon Ball fans and we love all the characters, some more than others, and we really appreciate the game for its existence, but there are characters we clearly love more than others. For example, I would have argued that God Goku is easily more popular than Ultimate Gohan, but just due to Ultimate Gohan being the better unit, you would not see God Goku as much in PvP, and that's the end of it. So the quality of the units in animation, but kit especially, have a big impact on what the game will look like, especially for the PvP player base. And right now, with the ground battles, Goku and Vegeta having extra buffs whether they're above or below, only naturally people are going to use them because they're most optimal, and obviously the developers have done that intentionally as a playing card to make part 2 feel great for the enjoyers of Saiyan Saga, and if you're not, you should get in on the fun. But I could also see how this could be a negative because there are people that are not interested and will have to work around it, but remember, they're still the part 1 units, so everybody's getting a bit of fun here and there. To end off the video, I really want to emphasize the reveal quality. The quality change from the part 1 reveal to this reveal is a complete 180. We went from them using AI, 50-minute video mostly talking about events we already know is going to drop, and then 2 units that we already saw leaked, to a Saiyan Saga surprise with ground battles which people were expecting because of data mines, but it really blowing us out of the water. The way the mechanics work, the way PvP is so fast paced currently, it feels so good and fresh. A lot of people are critics and we're looking at it like, oh well, what's the point of ground battles if it's pretty much the same as the air? Well, the point is to add a new axis. You can now add an extra attack to go from above to below and below to above. It's not about specifically being on the ground, but it's about going from high to low and low to high and changing the pace of the game while also adding new mechanics to make the game feel fresh. If you can't see that, you're truly ignorant because it's right there in your face. It also gives them more room to add more cinematics. So like I said with the Saiyan Saga characters, it's an iconic arc, and Goku and Vegeta, they have their own cinematics, and you can only imagine with other characters that we could get in the future where when you pull them and you encounter other characters using them, you will get this beautiful cinematic. Gogeta and Broly, MUI Goku and Jiren, Gohan and Cell. There's so much room here for amazing drops with the stage changes, and if you guys don't know, there are already other stages that are due to be played in Dragon Ball Legends, so they clearly have plans to make the game feel way more fresh with the inclusion of stage destruction, cutscenes, and mechanics going forward. If you aren't hyped for Dragon Ball Legends 2025 or even just the future in general, you honestly have to be a pessimistic person, only seeing the negative in every situation, as even if you aren't a fan of Saiyan Saga, this is the start of something beautiful, and the developers have clearly worked hard to make this the case. If you had super high unrealistic expectations, please remember that this is still a mobile game. If you wanted them to add full-blown controls with an analog stick on your mobile device, honestly that would take away the feeling of Dragon Ball Legends being Dragon Ball Legends. The inputs being so simplistic but also so interactive at the same time makes Dragon Ball Legends the peak that it is, and I hope that they continue to put out updates like this that make us feel like we're actually fighting at a crazily high pace, because honestly this is beautiful. I think that pretty much wraps up the feelings towards this anniversary so far, and Saiyan Saga being the part 2 of the celebration. In conclusion, Saiyan Saga isn't inherently hype on its own, and it doesn't translate well into games, although it does have an audience, especially among the older generation of Dragon Ball fans. But only naturally, it doesn't hold a candle to arcs like the Tournament of Power where we have MUI Goku and SSBE, arcs like the Broly movie where we have Gogeta Blue, and the future arc where we have Goku Black, Rose and Vegito Blue. But that doesn't take away the fact that it's an iconic arc and it deserves representation for leading Dragon Ball into where it is today, which is why the developers have gone out their way to make it something special, with it being the start of ground battles in Dragon Ball Legends. So some will like it, some will dislike it, but the game itself has an amazing feeling, and that brings up the hype levels whether you are a fan or not. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.